amplifier that I think was originally in production, I want to say 1969 or 1970, but I'm not exactly sure. We used to find them when I lived in Vancouver. They used to have them at Not Just Another Music Shop in Vancouver. And at one point, about 8 years ago, they got really popular. Not just the YGM3, although that one for sure, but the reverb mate and the, I can't remember what they're called, there was a bass mate. They're all great amplifiers. This is a fairly new amp. I think it's about a year, 2 years old that they've had these in production. And it's a 30-watt amplifier. Wait, it's 22 watts? It's 22 watts, not 30 watts. It's got a closed back cabinet as opposed to an open back cabinet, so it's got a little more bottom end than you might normally expect from an amp in a similar class, like a Fender Deluxe is probably the closest thing to it. It's got a reverb tank, it's got a tremolo circuit, it's just volume, treble, bass. There's no master or gain, which I think is really quite important to get the sound that I like. I'm using a pedal board, but I tend to prefer not to. I like just going straight into the front of the amp, turn it up as loud as you need to get it so that it sounds the way you want it to sound. Use a little bit of reverb, and for me, that's all you really need. And this amplifier delivers everything that I need from it. It's different from a Deluxe in the sense that partly because it's a closed back cabinet, but also, if I'm not mistaken, it's EL84s that are in this amplifier. And the Deluxe has different tubes, so it's kind of a different sound. It's a little bit, this particular amplifier, which is a production model, has a Jensen speaker, and it can give you a fairly legitimate swampy kind of bluesy tone. Whereas I find a Fender Deluxe is a little bit brighter and a little bit more mid-rangey, so it's a different sound. I'm just going to turn off all my effects and just give you an idea of what this amp sounds like by itself. When I say all my effects, all I meant was I had a boost on, and I had a little bit of slapback echo from a delay modeler, but beyond that, straight into the amp. Break up. That distortion is just the amplifier. No pedals are turned on. And I've recently had my pedal board reworked so that the difference between going through the pedals and bypassing them entirely is almost undiscernible. So that really is the sound of the amp. The volume right now is at about 4. I'm going to turn it up to like 8 or 9, just briefly, just to show you what it sounds like. That's 8. Pretty crunchy. Sorry. So there's that. I often use this amplifier with a 30-watt Celestion speaker, which gives it a little bit more headroom, a little bit more volume, and a little bit more clarity, because I tend to use 2 amplifiers. The second amplifier that I have over here is a Gibson Explorer amp. I think it's also referred to as a GA18. It's an 18-watt amplifier from 1959 or 1960. And although amplifiers were never really used deliberately for distortion back then, this amplifier is a great distortion amp. I tend to expect this one to be my clean sound, and this one to be my dirty sound. So So that's that.